Question 81. A platform engineer wants the exact set of role assignments for a project to be reviewed in pull requests and applied automatically, avoiding drift from manual portal edits. Which approach achieves this? A. Managing RBAC assignments as code in the deployment pipeline. B. Granting owner to everyone for simplicity. C. Disabling RBAC. D. Sharing one admin login. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer: A. Managing RBAC assignments as code in the deployment pipeline. Why A is correct? The key clues are: role assignments must be reviewed in pull requests, applied automatically, avoid drift from manual portal edits, maintain exact, repeatable access configuration. That is RBAC as code, usually implemented with infrastructure as code tools like Bicep, ARM, or Terraform, and applied through a deployment pipeline. This lets teams version review, plan, apply, and detect drift in role assignments instead of relying on manual portal changes. Question 82. A company must ensure that when they deploy a fine-tuned model, the training data and the resulting weights remain within their tenant and they are not used to train shared models. Which planning consideration governs this? A. The dashboard theme. B. The choice of chart colors. C. Data privacy and isolation guarantees of the deployment option. D. The number of dashboard widgets. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer: C. Data privacy and isolation guarantees of the deployment option. Why C is correct? The key requirements are: training data remains within the customer's tenant, fine-tuned model weights remain under the customer's control, data is not used to train shared foundation models, strong privacy and isolation guarantees. When selecting a fine-tuning or deployment approach, one of the most important considerations is the data privacy and isolation guarantees provided by the service. The organization must verify where training data is stored, who can access it, whether model weights are isolated, whether customer data is used to improve shared models, regulatory and compliance requirements, tenant and data boundary guarantees. These concerns are fundamentally about privacy, isolation, and governance, not model capability. Question 83. An architect wants to guarantee an agent's tool that performs account changes runs only from a private, network-isolated backend and never over the public internet. Which two settings together enforce this? A. Private endpoint plus disabled public network access. B. A block list plus a suggester. C. Higher temperature plus larger context. D. Public endpoint plus API key. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer: A. Private endpoint plus disabled public network access. Why A is correct? The requirements are: agent tool performs sensitive account changes, must run from a private backend, must never use the public internet, requires network isolation. The standard Azure security pattern is private endpoint, provides private connectivity over the Microsoft backbone network, assigns a private IP to the service. Disable public network access, prevents any access through public endpoints, forces all traffic through the private endpoint path. Question 84. A team wants to release a new model version alongside the old one, shift traffic over once it is validated, and keep the old one ready to switch back instantly. Which release pattern describes this? A. Batch-only processing. B. Blue-green deployment. C. A single in-place upgrade. D. Deleting the old version first. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer: B. Blue-green deployment. Why B is correct? A blue-green deployment keeps two versions running simultaneously. Blue, current production version. Green, new version being tested. Question 85. An open weight model from the catalog must run on dedicated compute the team manages with a persistent online endpoint. Which deployment target fits? A. A content filter. B. A managed compute online endpoint. C. Serverless pay per token only. D. Batch email export. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, B. A managed compute online endpoint. Why B is correct? The key clues are open weight model. Team wants dedicated compute. Team manages the runtime environment. Needs a persistent online endpoint. Continuous real-time inference. A managed compute online endpoint is the appropriate deployment target for hosting open weight models on dedicated infrastructure while exposing a persistent API endpoint for applications. Question 86. An organization wants dev, test, and prod to be strongly isolated with separate access and quotas while sharing governance standards. Which structure achieves both isolation and shared standards? A. One admin key across all environments. B. No environments. C. Separate projects per environment under shared governance. D. One project for everything. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, C. Separate projects per environment under shared governance. Why C is correct? The requirement is to have strong isolation between dev, test, and prod. Separate access controls. Separate quotas. Shared governance standards. Using separate projects per environment gives each environment its own workspace, permissions, assets, deployments, and operational boundary. Microsoft Foundry guidance describes projects as isolated workspaces for use cases, while shared governance can be applied through the parent Foundry resource, topology, and organizational policies. Question 87. A pipeline must pull a secret from a vault at deploy time without ever printing it in logs. Which practice supports this? A. Hardcode the secret in the YAML. B. Echo the secret to the console for verification. C. Store it in the model prompt. D. Reference the secret from Key Vault via the pipeline's secure integration. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, D. Reference the secret from Key Vault via the pipeline's secure integration. Why D is correct? The requirements are secret stored in a vault, retrieved during deployment, never exposed in logs, secure automation. Question 88. A production promotion must require a named approver to sign off before the release proceeds, recorded for audit. Which pipeline feature provides this? A. A content filter. B. A manual approval gate, environment check. C. A re-ranker. D. A larger quota. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, B. A manual approval gate, environment check. Why B is correct? The requirements are production release must be approved before deployment. A specific person named approver must sign off. Approval must be recorded for audit purposes. Release must pause until approval is granted. This is exactly what a manual approval gate, also called an environment approval check, in a CI/CD pipeline provides. Question 89. A team must ensure that when they deploy, the actual configuration matches the declared template and any manual drift is detected. Which practice surfaces drift? A. Emailing the config. B. Disabling monitoring. C. Taking screenshots. D. Comparing deployed state against the IAC definition. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, D. Comparing deployed state against the IAC definition. Why D is correct? The question is about configuration drift detection. Configuration drift occurs when someone manually changes resources after they've been deployed, causing the actual environment to differ from the declared infrastructure as code IAC template. Question 90. A workload needs reserved capacity but also must keep data processing within the EU. Which deployment option combines residency with reserved throughput? A. Global provisioned. B. Batch anywhere. C. Data zone provisioned scoped to the EU. D. Standard global. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, C. Data zone provisioned scope to the EU. Why C is correct? The workload requires both reserved capacity, this points to provisioned throughput, EU data residency processing requirements, this points to a data zone deployment scoped to the EU. Combining these requirements leads to a data zone provisioned deployment, which provides reserved throughput while ensuring processing stays within the required geographic boundary. Microsoft supports both data zone deployments for geographic residency such as EU or US, and provisioned throughput, reserved capacity with predictable performance. If this was successful, please like and subscribe so that you get notified when I've released new questions.